Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Dream Labs, Dr. Contrast Live. I hope all is well. And boy, please forgive me for the delay here. I had a problem getting started here. They couldn't find my account number, so I had to get that all taken care of before we came in and got the thing going. So, no problem. And thank you, Dakota. Good to have you on board. And also, Antares. Hope you had a great trip. You were out last week. Hope everything went well for you. So, hopefully, you're here today and ready to fly. And by the way, can you hear me okay? Let me double check here, make sure we're in good shape before we get started, because I had a bit of a difficulty coming in. It's really touchy sometimes. Email addresses and phone numbers like to get this thing verified. So, are we good? If so, we'll carry on here. I'll just wait for your response. Hopefully, we'll be good. Very good. So it sounds like the sound's coming through. Well, today I thought it'd be kind of a neat process to kind of cover here today. The last go around we had was marker technique and methodologies, which I think was extremely a lot of fun. I hope it helped you. And Dakota, thank you so much for the response I got from you on the little change about paper, and let the paper work a little bit. And by the end of the day here, I hope we can kind of go through a little bit of a process and kind of define it for you better in a visual format here today. So, but I want to really stress today, we did the marker piece last week. There's a lot of similarities between the marker piece and the line weight, the mystery of line weight. The reason I really entitled it The Mystery of Line Weight, and I'm amazed at the number of times during workshops and clinics where people are just confused by the fact that what line weight does, how to work with it, what it really means to utilize it. And I think it's going to come down to about 5 categories here today. We're trying to go through it very quickly. I'll show you some demonstration work on how that functions, and also brought some pieces along to kind of magnify what that looks like when you put it all together. So, and if I go through this at any particular time, feel free to ask any questions. I'm more than happy to help you all I can here to clarify some things. But the first thing we're going to look at is what line weight does is automatically, it defines forms. It's a way of defining a shape or detailing a form that is undeniable. Number 2, and it creates depth. It gives you a sense of where the light source is coming from, what the forms are really truly doing by varying the weights of line and so forth. It establishes focal points, interest in areas. In other words, when I draw, for example, any given object I'm working with, I was really focusing on very little, what I refer to as a 70-30 rule. 70% of the actual sketch, a little bit free, 30% detailing it all, making sure it all comes together. But that comes down to establishing the focal point. And it also, for example, it magnifies light source. When you work with the actual power, the mystery of line weight, it actually working with the light source. It tells you where the light source is coming from, and it goes thick to thin and appears closest to it, and it vanishes, it goes away from you. And lastly, it magnifies the light source. It just does some, and again, sorry, I want to really stress that, magnifies the light source. And last but not least, it just generates enthusiasm in your sketches. It's far, far more powerful to have that line weight process working for you. So let's kind of take a look at how we start with this thing here. I'll go through just a couple of little thumbnail sketches here. Just on line, for example, let's look at some basic things. There's some of the line weight here. If I come back with that to start it, let me just move this back so I can get this thing squared away. There we go. Do that. If I add more power to it and then put more thick to thin, that gives me a little more impact on getting the shape down. If I come back into a form, for example, and begin to put an edge together, and I kind of take that away, very much so, a lot of weight up here, and let it kind of disappear. Again, into the leading edge. And then again, closest to me, and let it disappear. Very interesting set of circumstances. When you get into a round shape, for example, and you have to come back nice and light, come back here, rotate that out, rotate the pad a little bit, and then take advantage of the fact that that line weight, very closest to me, power this one up. And then come back with a highlight inside that, thick to thin, and come back around the shape. And then when you break that back again, come back and just do this, come back to it again. Indicate where the light source is coming from. There, across the form, to there, into there, and then down into there. And again, down below, let me turn this upside down for it. You can come back in through it and just, again, generate in the other direction. Actual power. Look how that process there begins to tell you or show you how that shape is actually coming together. Does this make sense, gang, so far? I mean, I'm just keeping it nice and simple as we move through the whole process here, and taking advantage of the fact that that line weight study is just absolutely powerful in terms of, it's a whole lot better than seeing this. Let me just do this. Lots more than just this, to this, to this, to that. I mean, there's no power in that. There's no real definition in that kind of format here. So I think getting together with this whole idea of getting these shapes that work and function for us is absolutely incredible. So if we go back in again, let's go back to this. If we're at lights, like a circular point, where the light source is coming from, really power it up. Thick, again, thick, back to thin, light source, back there. Don't need to outline it any more than that. It just gives it that nice and simple. As it comes down the form here, even if this is closest to me, step inboard, go thick to thin. All of a sudden, that whole process looks at really it gets the idea across about what these shapes are doing and what that light source is telling us to do here. So let me just sharpen this for a moment here. And we're going back in and we're just going to start with a fresh sheet of paper here. And roll that out of the way, get that down. But if you look at certain forms, for example, this is going to do a nice little study here. Basic it up. Very lightly through it. Come back in, closest to me. Weight it up. Let it disappear. Coming underneath, further away. Let me turn this upside down. Tell me where the light source is coming from. Thick, to thin. There she is there. Any kind of definition inside this form. Come back in across the shape. Again, into the thickness. A lot of weight. Definition again, away. If there's any definition in the form itself, again, add into it. Come back in, closest to me, hit it, and then hit it. And again, across, thick to thin, to thin, to thin. That's one way of looking at that here. So let me stop there for a moment again. Just helping it off, I hope. Just kind of lay it down a little bit. It's going to be nice and thick. And again, give that thing some real substance as you come around the bend here to kind of give it a lot more shape and substance to it here. And again, let's go back and look at something else here. Again, very closest to me here. I'm going to come across here and hit it. Thick. To thin. Again, up on top. Thick. To thin. And again, down below. Very simple. This is where the light source is coming from. From behind, it's there. Into here. And then down into this. And again, here. And there's a recess in there. Let's take that corner and turn it. And there you go. Let me stop there for a second. Any issues so far? Am I going too quickly or am I explaining it all right? Now, notice, things closest to me, I'm really going to power them up. As they move away from me, I'm just going to go thick to thin. And again, same thing here. Very round shapes. Very difficult to work with here. So light source is coming from behind, and you outline the highlight where it's the most intense. Yes, it is. That's from behind, coming in from here, coming across the shape. Closest to the light source, furthest closest to me, but closest to the light source. So it's darker to light, darker to light. Same thing in this situation here in Terrace. Let's kind of do one more form here, just so it's a little sketch rendering shape here. Again, closest to me, a lot of weight. Then, again, closest to me, let it disappear. Weight. The section line over the top here, a little more weight to it. As it transitions there, we gotta make that change just a touch. Again, closest to me, thicker, rolls underneath. And again, light source, the light source coming in from behind here into shadow. And let's do this. There you go. What do you think here, gang? So far, so good? Dakota, you still with us? Hopefully this is helping here a little bit. Just doing some basic, simple shapes and forms to work with here to kind of generate this idea of what light source is doing, what line weight is doing for us in terms of getting some real powerful operations in your sketches. So let me sharpen this stick up again here. And let's just go to a fresh sheet of paper. Move it over here just a bit. There we go. Now, there's an interesting situation here too. Let's kind of go back to a fuller form here. Now, here's a difference. For example, okay, super, very good, Dakota, good deal. Now, here's what I'm looking at here. If the radii, if you notice, let's go back to the sketch I just completed here. Pardon me. If there's a real tight radius, for example, this will imply a pretty good generous radius here. This will imply a much tighter radius here. Same thing with this, much tighter radius, and again, very hard, tight radius into that shape itself. That's a manufactured radius. Now, if that's one approach, we can put that right there for a moment, and I'll come back to it in a moment. If, for example, that radius in here, it's going to cut a section through this. If that radius is much greater and it's a lot softer, then I really suggest, for example, come back in, go to the side of the pencil, lay the pencil down, and come the closest to me where that fillet's going to be, and go real bold with it. Take that through, roll it on over. Now, on the inside of that, come back to this, run that over. Again, same weight change. Come back across again, side of pencil, run that through, and then take that into the shape itself. And if there's a little bit of a line weight change here, this will be a lot tighter down here. So I'll switch gears again. Pardon me as I kind of rotate this pad here. Come back and switch gears again. Go back to a tighter radius here. Closest to me, tighter radius. Closest to me again, thick, but thin. Away from me, light source. Light source. Now, let's define this thing. If I come back again, put a shape on top of that, again, off that apron, closest to me, take it away, back again. If that comes across the shape itself, and we break this up into, let's say this, and this, again, thick, to thin, thick to thin, shadow, shadow, Again, got that side of pencil. This now conveys a much larger fillet going through that shape itself. That read, happen, gang? It's very, very ghost-like in terms of being very simple, very subtle, but at the same time, really getting a lot of drama in the actual shape itself. If I go back in here, let's go back and look at something like this. If I come back and create a center line, again, closest to me, furthest away. There you go. A little concept sketch here. Again, playing up this whole idea of letting everything closest to me, really powering it up and giving a real substance to it. And then everything else you're dealing with really kind of powers down and does a nice job of just kind of defining where space is. I just lost my watch. There we go. Put that aside for a second. But let me stop there for a moment. Now, I hope this is helping to clarify some of the things we've been talking about, especially there's a lot of relationship here between what we did last week with a couple of weeks back, rather, with the idea of getting into the marker studies. There's a lot of similarities, but the sketch rendering skills are much, much softer, I think, much more empathic looking. I think, look at the variation. Let me just see if I can get this to work. Look at that. I gotta ask you a question. Do these sketches, as poorly as they're done, do they look exciting? No, hey Shadow, good to have you on board. No, not really. I'm just going through a whole process of line weight studies, and using that as a tool to kind of magnify the sketch, and it really has a lot of impact to it. Because it makes our sketches far more dramatic by using the thick-thin process, and again, near space, far space. Closest to me, hit it as it moves away, let it disappear. Closest to me, hit it, let it disappear. Now come back to this. This second sketch we did here, just getting into certain combinations of different radii, for example. The larger the radius, this very large radius here, the softer it gets. The tighter it is, look how nice and tight that is. That's a variation of theme and how that all begins to work. Yeah, they have many more, just form lines, it just doesn't work at all, I don't think. It's the same thing when you do this. You can actually come back and begin to just generate this. You can start with a circle, and back to ground line, and back to circle, a little bit of far side space, and by coming in and just treating a gesture like this, Now, there's just a real light ethereal drawing, but what are the shapes doing? If they're hard edged, now hit them. Come back in. Closest to me. Closest to me. Underneath. Back to ground. Closest to me. Transition. Softer radius. And again, softer radius down and through here. Softer radius in through here. Light source. There it is. What do you think, gang? Yeah, they have way more except. Okay, well, let me stop there for a second. Anybody, any questions at all here, folks? Pardon me, I'm losing my voice a little bit here. Anything at all. Please feel free to give me a holler here. Everything's working okay? Yeah, lightweight. It is. Yeah, it really is. Shadow. It does an incredible job in terms of putting programs together here. And let me just sharpen these sticks for a moment here. Let's see where we are. Okay, there it is, and there it is. And I think a lot of it has to do too. Let me just get rid of these sketches here and get this out of the way. I'll put these off to one side here and put this on top of that. We'll come back and review at the end of the program here today. So there, and one last, just going to look through some other, if we have a situation again, very lightly sketch in. Where the drama is, put the fillets in place. Just a shape. One of the nice things about this whole line weight process is you can come back in and use it ad infinitum in certain areas within the actual shape itself. I'll drive that. Yeah, well, I'm glad. I'll just send it to you. How's that? Very simple shape. And again, same process again. Now, this is going to be a very tight radius here. So if it's a tight radius, once again, I'll show you the difference on the page here. If it's a tight radius, come right back in and power that thing up. Take me into the page. Take me around the corner. As I come around the corner, let it disappear a little bit, and thick, fade it. Highlight to highlight. Right away, light. Same thing here. Let me turn this upside down for a moment. Again, closest to me, weight it up, lose it. Come back underneath here. Underneath, turn it upside down, pardon me. Pick up where the weight is. Thick. Back to. Then, right away. I mean, look at the. It's a horrible sketch. But look at the impact you're setting up there already with just line weight itself. Just a lot of impact. Now back in through here. Let's take that center line. And then let's compound this just a little bit tighter radius, so it's going to have a little bit of a manufactured edge in it. So it's going to have this into that, let it disappear. Comes around and does a following. Again, down below, let's kind of put that gap in place, thick to thin. Now back on top here. This is an interesting series. In fact, that light source is coming in from here. I'm going to come back in, and that line closest to me is going to be about right here. Let it fade. And again, down below, let that blend in. And again, come underneath it. Highlight it again where that light source is coming from. Thick to thin. Add texture to it. And as it comes around the bend, power it. Again, dark, shadow or cut, dark to light, and again, bring that through, shadow here, into form, closest to me again, come around the corner, hit it. Now you tell me, is that making sense? Can't look at that. A lot of it, notice how almost 70% or half of that sketch, did you break down the lighting on the car, side view sketch? Yeah, let me go back to that sketch here for a moment. Yeah, break down the lighting. That vehicle, that light source is coming in from over here, from behind, and Antares up on top. It's coming from behind. The light source, breaking, as it moves away into the shape, notice, that's all this area here is all reflected light coming back into the body side. I'm just coming back in below here, break up again, a panel break, and again, body break, front end graphics, but the light source is from behind and from the left, and all that is now tone where I need it. It's where the transition is. Then this is all body shape or reflected light in through here. No need to touch it. And that's it. Does that help at all? Let me stop here. Just wait for the minute. I hope this is making sense here, guys. Very delicate. It's a delicate process. I mean, it takes a lot of practice. And a lot of people, I'm amazed by the fact that over the course of time, when I put workshops and clinics on, they really, it kind of terrifies them a bit to be that bold in the sketch. But the point I'm getting at is that line weight, it really does, it just generates enthusiasm with your work. Yeah, there it is, over the near side. That reflected light is showing the form on the near side. That's exactly, I've just put that section line in there to show us what that's doing. And Terrace, you got it. Now I can come back in and be a little bolder with this guy and really kind of wheel these guys up, but I don't think I want to really emphasize what that's doing as much as I want to do emphasize what the, oops, let me get this over here. What the body shapes are doing. Now I can come back in and tint this, but I'm just working with line, not so much surface at all here. But the lines will tell me what the surfaces are doing. That's another thing that defines the shape very quickly. Line weight's powerful. And the more you think about it, the more powerful it becomes. So let's go back to this just for a second here. I'll go back and do another vehicle study here in a little bit to kind of clarify that for you both. Shadow, for example, and also Dakota. If that'll help, great. Happy to do it. So let's go back and look at, now let's do something else. Let's do this. Let's say the same shape now has a very large generated soft radius here. It comes down into this form. And just keep it nice and simple. And we'll run right into this. Same process. But this time we'll add maybe a flare on the back side of this thing through this. Now, let's say that has a very large manufactured radius, a very large radius, both sides. This is where now, rather than the point of the pencil for this, what you're going to work with here, rather than at the point of the pencil, you're going to see more of this kind of an appearance. Back to the side of the pencil, to kind of the side of the pencil, right there. Just lay that right down on the shape itself, and come right through it and do the following. Come back in, closest to me, side of pencil, let it fade. Side of pencil, let me turn this upside down. Side of pencil, let it fade. Again, up on top again, fade. Up on top, let it fade. Again, this is working with line weight. Again, let's just beat this up a little more down below. Deeper, deeper. Softer, softer. Again, down below, same thing. That's a very round, generous shape to it. Do that with it. Come along with the soft side of the pencil. Get that in there, rotate it, and let it fade. Again, let it fade. Come back in again. Working with the light source. This is the light source is coming again from the left. Now we start to crispen this thing up. Now we can start adding a lot more power lines to get that shape to kind of function for us. Thick, thin, thin, a bit more weight. Carry it through, carry it through, carry it through, carry it through, carry it through. Now, again, little touches like that. Tell me where the story is. There it away. I'm there. Even back here, closest to me, bring up the weight. Away, let it fade. Across the top of this thing. If there's a little, like a series of buttons along the way here, again, even the smallest details, closest to the light source, away, etc. Insert. Closest to me, up, hard edge, manufactured edge, take it in, back in through here, fly it off of the page, make it look like it happened in about 10 seconds, and there's that study. There she is. Hard edge to a very soft edge. Make sense? This has been fun. I hope this has been helpful to you, because it's a real mystery. People really have a hard time working with it and dealing with it because it's such a powerful set of circumstances. I think what frightens people is it's so powerful, dark against light. It kind of throws them a little bit. I'm really concerned about that. And it shouldn't be. That's the idea behind it all. Again, it creates depth. It gives you much more power to work with. It really has a freedom about it, and it's really a spontaneous shot at it here. Let's do this. Come back here. Done this before too, and I think it might be helpful just to kind of give you a real quick introduction here. When you're working, like, let's say, an interior space, let's do the same thing. Pick up this. Let's do a little thumbnail sketch here. Interior space. That to that to that. Drive that view out. Drive the viewer out. Drive the viewer out. Drive the viewer out. Same thing here. Now, let's come back and find the center line. Bring that into play. Bring that up the center line. Bring that down. Now, let's say there's something up front here. Now, this is called invitational graphics. So you bring the viewer back into the form itself. So, come out here. A lot of weight. Turn it around the corner. A lot of weight. Now, take it back into space. Back again, closest to me. Power it. Power it. Closest to me. A lot of weight. A lot of weight. As it goes back, and it's starting to fade. closest to me. There's a little study there, interior space. What do you think, guys? I would say the fair part of me is making lines with uniform level of darkness in the sketch. I think that's a little bit of practice time, but all that would be really Dakota. I think you're doing fine there as far as getting shape are concerned. Don't be fearful of it. Just experiment with the fact that you get a lot of weight changes, for example. Again, thick to thin, thick to thin, thick to thin. And you just practice. Just hit it and release it. Hit it and then release it. So it's a very interesting set of circumstances here. So, but overall, is this helping, gang? I mean, I don't want to get to the place where it becomes overcomplicated, but I just really feel to say that the most important aspect of this whole lesson today is to take advantage of the fact that line weight will create a lot of power in your sketches. So much more so, for example, that you get into, again, defining form, creating a lot of depth, excitement, magnifies the light source. It telegraphs the viewer where you are with this thing. It's just amazing. Excellent. I was surprised that you added heavy lines at the edges of the sketch, but it makes sense in terms of adding weight to what's closest to me. That's, again, it's right at me. So that's why we pushed that area there, interior. It's very good. Thank you, sir. So let's do this. Let's come back and do the following here, and we'll just wrap it up. I've got some examples along too. I'm going to spend a lot of time. I just hope these little demonstrations are beginning to, even though the shapes are kind of simple, but they give you some idea of where we are with this whole process about getting line weight to work here. So let's go back and through here. This is a line weight study. You're just feathering lines out. There it is. What do you think, gang? I'm surprised that you added heavy lines, Dakota. Yep, there you go. That's it. What do you think, gang? Notice all the emphasis is right up front here. The rest is all paper. Now, if I want to go back and make sure again, if this was, let's say, a softer radius in here, again, sided pencil into that form and just run it right through the shape. And there it is. That simple, guys. I hope this is helpful. I mean, I'm not trying to rush through here at all, but I just think this is really a lot of fun to take advantage of what these guys are doing. There it is. Combination of sharp, thick lines and soft edge. Yeah, I mean that's the idea behind it all. I think in Terrace and Dakota, it's that combination of thick against thin, like the one we did here, for example, this last go around. It's the mystery of this combination of soft against sharp, and then soft against sharp. And it gives you that drama, or that more intrigue and interest in the sketches that you're working with here. So. Combinations are really critical, but I think the most thing is notice there's a lot of area being not exposed here. It's just a lot of paper being filled in. And again, Dakota, this is just a comment hopefully for you here. This last sketch, let me put this aside here for a moment. This last sketch, again, notice how much paper is coming through the actual shape itself. That's what I was getting at by letting the paper work for you. And instead of trying to fill it all in, which most individuals do, and I'm not being critical of that, but that happens to be the case that they deal with, they fill it all in, and the next thing you know, it just dies. It just flattens right out. So it's good advice to just kind of let the paper kind of, in almost every one of these sketches, that paper works right through the process and then does a job for you. So let me stop there for a moment, and I'll fill in any questions you might have while you're, I'm going to sharpen a couple of sticks here in case we need them. For generation here. There it is. Then okay. Now, any questions so far before I move on? Dakota, man, I seriously know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I hope that helps. Yeah, that's great. So now I'm beginning to see how that operates, Dakota. That's terrific. Any concerns or questions? I mean, I've gone through some very rapid sketches here. Let me do a quick review, and we'll come right back at it. Started here with the idea of what line thrust does, or darks and lights, how that shape begins with a lot more thick to thin, emphasizing, look at the difference in power between this and this. No comparison whatsoever. So that was the first sketch we did. Let's move that aside here. Then the second one is a little more, whoops, that helps me get it right side up. Yeah, let's get these guys upside. There you go. And just simple shapes. Again, utilizing that whole idea of what line shape or what line weight will do. Again, getting a lot of focus in these areas here. And Tara's question, just in awe of your, no, there's no awe of mastery at all. It's just practice time in Tara's. It's very kind, but you've got the same capability. It's the idea of being able to see what you're after. And again, focusing on one thing that I want to get across in the stream for both you and Dakota. Your sketches must, it's not a mandatory thing, but I think you're learning to get there. Must have power behind them, I mean, like a sense of conviction. And really what it does is just generates enthusiasm, not only for yourself, but the clients you're dealing with. They can see you've got power in your work, and that's important. So there's another little pass here. Again, thick and thin. There she is. Again, another little study here. I could send this, I'll send this sketch to you, Dakota. How's that? And you can have it. That's yours. So again, another series of, again, soft radius, sided pencil, sharp radius to kind of get that manufactured edge that works for us. It's all series of combinations, a lot of observation in the matter. It's just really kind of fun stuff to work with here. And then another study here, it went upside down, just turned right side up. Again, another combination, again, the hard edge of the very, very sharp radius, and again, very soft radius on this side here. So then last but not least, thought I'd give it a shot with interior space and architecture, by the way, and Terrace. The whole idea is really interesting how architecture works the same way like this. Just treat your buildings the same way. Buildings that are a structure closest to us, thick and thin. As they move away in space, same process, thick to thin. It'll work great. If you want to send me some sketches on that, marvelous. I'll be more than happy to help you and look at them. Same with you, Dakota. Let me switch gears here for a moment. And let me just do this. I'm gonna go through some things. I brought some things along. Let me just get these ready. Sorry about that. Get this out of the way. Whoop. There we go. To move this pad out of the way. I brought some examples along just to look at to kind of reinforce this whole idea of the mystery of line weight. And they look like this. There's a series of sketches here. just what happens with, again, look at the line weights on these sketches. They're not very well done. They're just thumbnail sketches, but almost in every area, look at the idea, for example, even some of the detail work, coming right back in and going thick against thin, dark against light, and the whole idea, and maybe at some point in the future, in addition to this line weight process, I might come back in and do some study on the 3 languages of line. There's a language of line, and not only does it line weight, but there are 3 languages. Number 1, form; 2, position; and 3, texture. We work with position today, and I've licensed this. I own this title to this series of sketch rendering work. So maybe I'll put a stream on later on. I want to move into some perspective sketches. Yeah, it's kind of neat. That'll be really cool to look at here. So again, 3 categories of light: form, position, texture. We'll move into that maybe in a later stream. But here are some examples of what they begin to look like from a line weight perspective. I want you to notice as we go through these sketches, not the actual sketch itself, but the line weights, and how they've been treated from one end to the other. And before I forget too, to go, hang on, I'm going to run through this very quickly, and I'm going to give you a quick demonstration on this whole paper process we were questioning on your email. There's one. There's another family. Again, look at the line weights and how they're all very highly generated. Again, even shadow areas, and that thick and thin process is absolutely fun to work with here. So, what do you think? Helping? Brought these along to let you see how line weight really begins to function. There's more shading involved in some of them as well, too, but that's just about it. Very cool. There it is. This is done on some toned paper. Again, same process, thick to thin, letting it fade, for example, and putting process together here. Let me just put this guy in. There's one there. Another little tone paper set. Look at it. A lot of boldness, let it fade. A lot of boldness, let it fade. Same process coming all the way through the process here, dark to light, and even a little bit of shadow work. Even the ballpoint pen. These were done for a client on some gaming systems, so that was part of the process there. And again, this is again for Prismacolor, the actual pencil company. Idea concept sketches for pencil sharpeners. And again, notice again, line weights. All the weights are really bold and coming forward on the actual page itself. So that's another process here. That guy there. I'll stop. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a holler here, and I'll slow it down a little bit. And there it is. Again, same process again. Pencil sharpener studies are just little things to work with. Desktop verticals. Again, notice all the weights and really hammering home where the section lines are closest to me. Fade, so on. Back here a little bit darker because it was a lens change with glass. And getting back into this is done for a Norelco company, some concept work for shavers. Again, it's thick and thin. There we are. The whole process coming together. Really fluid, quick sketches all the way around the bend here. Same thing again. Razor studies for, again, that same corporation. So back in through here. And then last but not least, some pencil sharpeners again. Just really interesting little shape. Again, I'm going to emphasize it again. Every one of these have that whole one thing in common. Real bold line weights. Closest to me, hit it. As it moves away, fade it. And then that gives you more presence and perspective and depth and detail. Again, these are little studies again, sharpeners, same process again for that gang I was working with. And that should do it right there. Let me stop for a second. Before I move on, any questions here? So far, so good? Let me just do it. I brought this along here, and Dakota, hope you're still with me. I'm going to take this little thumbnail sketch here and describe to you what and like in some of your sketches, what that paper might look like. With a marker, I'm going to go back in through here and start with this process. I'm going to come back in, and again, first I'm going to show you how to let the paper do the work with this thing. So I'll come back in, stay in the shadow. Come back in the highlight, let the paper do the work up on top, come underneath, stay in it again, bring it right up, notice dark into light, let it fade, there it is there, that is, now come underneath here, dark, and again, underneath, dark, you just got to do this, we'll switch gears here. One more time to pass it. And then again, just bring that highlight right on through. There's a quick example of how to let that paper kind of follow through in the highlight. Now, if you're still there, hopefully, Dakota, is this helping? There's phase one. Making sense? How to work with tone the marker down. Let's do this. Let's tone this down. Come back a little bit darker again. You want to really stain it again. Darker, into light, darker, into light. I mean, look at that. All of a sudden, that thing reads without a whole lot more fill. I'm going to stop right there until I hear either a thumbs up or, oh, I'm not explaining that. Very cool. Is this making sense for you? Hopefully, Dakota, how to let that paper work through it. Let the paper work for you. No, and that doesn't matter what object, whether it's round or sheer or whatever. Let the paper, as much as you can, through the sketch itself, just like we did with these line weight size just a few moments ago. Helping? Very cool. Second approach is you can let the paper work by doing the following. You can come back in again with the marker, any given color, tone it in, reflected light, bring it in, come down just below, a little bit on top again. Again, bring this into play. In the shadow again. And use another medium here to kind of get this thing to read. So we've got that down. Now the next thing you want to add is maybe it's another medium to work with to get this thing to read. So I'm just come back into this. Add a little bit of pastel. Come back in through this. Just for a moment. Let's take this guy, fill it in, and come back in. And if I can find it here real quick, there we are. Come back in, and right back in and say, okay, now into highlight. Into highlight. And highlight. And then if I fill a little bit more, a little deeper with it, that's fine. But look at the blend you're getting right in through here. And again, even through here, follow the highlight right through into that shape. And come back in again. And just put a touch more up and through here. Highlight. Highlight. A little bit of secondary light here, and there it is. One more pass here with a little bit of marker. Yeah, I think, well, that's a great point. Let me address this first here to get back again. Go back with the marker and just keep passing where that shadow is. A little deeper, a little deeper. There it is, and down below, same thing again. Even up on top. A little deeper down below here. And there's two approaches that hopefully get past that sigma of filling it all in. So that's basically it. I'm really pleased you hung on here, Dakota. I hope this helped you a little bit. Again, let the paper work without an additional media. Let the paper work and add the media like a dry pastel or even a colored pencil. You can come back in through here with this after all the layers are done. Really strengthen this guy. Oop, coming back in here. And there it is. That's it. That little reflected light there to kind of get that to work. Oh, let's do this. Just drop this shadow in. And there it is. I hope that's been helpful, gang. Thank you so much for both of you for tuning in. Those of you who might be listening later on, please keep sending me information. If I can be of any help to you, I'll be more than happy to help. This has been a lot of fun to put these programs together. Never ceases to amaze me the infinite range of creativity we get into here, and not mine, for example, but the process we're dealing with. So maybe next week we'll switch gears, and I think I'm seriously going to put together a series of events and programs for the future. Again, let's go back to this just for a moment. So this guy, just one page here. I think I'm going to go back and explain what these three forms of what the language of line really does, what they actually function, and what their purpose is for. It might be interesting to kind of work with them. Pastels would be a good way to work with there, because again, you can use that as a medium and erase it, and it's very forgiving. Good thing to work with here. So let me just end with this. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope this has been helpful to you. It's been really a lot of fun for me to go through the process with you here today. Feel free to drop me an email at jim@drcontrast.com. I'll be more than happy to help you in any way I can. And Terrace and Dakota, if we start to do some work here and you've got some questions to ask, please don't feel poor at all about passing them along. Might take a little time to respond, but I'll get there. And secondly, just please visit my website at jim@drcontrast, drcontrast.com, pardon me, just drcontrast.com is the website. And really looking forward to next week. Hopefully, and I'm going to switch gears. We're going to do some automotive stuff or a different subject matter. We'll change from time to time here. And lastly, excuse me, if there's anything that you would like me to work with that might be giving you fits or difficulties, subject matter, please feel free to drop me a note about, hey, I'd like to see what happens when you do this, or what happens in a case like that says this. What about this subject matter? Happy to do all I can to help you if I can. So really interesting stuff here. Thank you very much, Dakota. Great to have you on board. You as well, and Terrace. Have a great week. All the best, and thank you for your patience and your loyalty. Hope to see you next Wednesday, same time, same place, and we'll do the following here. I always really want to sign off with this one, because to me it's the most important part of the whole program today. Never forget to dare to remember to dare to be great, because you are. Thanks very much, gang. All the very best. I love a Sid Mead series. Yeah, Sid Mead series would be really cool, wouldn't it? We could do that. So I'm not as good as Sid, but I'll try. Thanks very much, all. Have a great week. We'll see you next Wednesday, and dare to be great. Thank you.